What's up, guys? This is Jay Griff, and welcome back to the Dark Souls Blog of Pain for Dark Souls 3. It has begun again! Oh, man. Okay, so I've had my hands on Dark Souls 3 for a couple of days now, and I've been playing it a lot, and this game is awesome. Holy crap. This game, alright, first of all, this game looks, feels, and plays the best of any Dark Souls, which is to say, it's incredible. It's just completely incredible. The controls are so tight. It feels so good to fucking move around and to fight with this character. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's so much better than Dark Souls 3, or rather Dark Souls 2. And it's actually better than Dark Souls 1 in control, and that's amazing, because nothing was better than Dark Souls 1 in control. It's nuts. The visuals. Oh my god. This game is beautiful. This game is so beautiful. Like, Bloodborne, they learned so much when they made Bloodborne, and they actually reused a lot of the elements from Bloodborne. I think they reused some of the assets, which might be a little bit on the lazy side, but they fit perfectly. You'd never know they were from another game if you hadn't played Bloodborne. It's not jarring at all. It's perfect. It's perfect. The level of detail on everything is just madness. It's fucking madness. And once again, FromSoft has done what they have done with all their other titles, where just if you can see something in the distance and you're like, wow, look at that. That's so cool. That's so opulent. I want to go there. You will go there. You can go there. That's just the next level. That's the next area. Or that's another area that you're eventually going to get to. There's no skybox shenanigans where it's like, oh, look at this amazing thing that you're never going to fucking walk around on. That doesn't happen in these games. And at least at the beginning, it doesn't happen here either. You go everywhere. You can go everywhere if you can survive there. You know, that's a whole other story, but you can go, you can visit, you can see it. Oh man, and fighting feels so good. I was so worried that Dark Souls 2 was going to happen all over again, where I just boot the game up and the controls feel like floaty dog shit, because they infused the stats into the way your character moves, and because you start so low, you start so shit, and I was afraid that the shields were going to be fucking slow again, and Estus was going to be so slow, and that you had to spec so you could drink your Estus faster. So fucking stupid. Gone, it's all good, it's all so good. Oh my god, this game is the best, and I cannot wait to play more of it even right now. Whew. But so that's the intro. Like, the game gets just a gold star for how it plays and how it feels. But this is a Dark Souls game. Like, we're here not just for that. We're here for a story. We're here for an epic tale that's gonna be confusing and interesting and fun to unravel, and there's going to be many possibilities that are subject to interpretation. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about the story. So you get the intro to the new Dark Souls, and it's the same lady that's been narrating Dark Souls from the beginning, and the fire is fading again, naturally, because that's what the first flame does. And this time there's these dudes called the Lords of Cinder, and they've never been mentioned before in the lore. Like, Lords of Cinder, that's a new concept. So what the hell is this all about? Are they the dudes with the Lord Souls? What's the deal? Well, it looks like maybe not, you know? The Lords, or so it would seem, are the guys who that at one point in history were the people that linked the fire. They're the guys that went into the kiln of the first flame and gave up their soul to preserve the first flame and to prevent the world from falling into darkness, aka the Abyss, which, as we've seen, is super friggin' bad news. Thank you, Ulasil. Thank you, New Londo. You know. And at first glance, with that interpretation, it sounds like we might have met already 4 of the Lords of Cinder in the previous games, you know? We've met Great Lord Gwyn. We were the chosen undead, the second person ever to link the fire, who defeated the lords and returned the souls to the flame. We've met Vendrick, who, depending on your interpretation of Dark Souls 2, might have also linked the fire. I don't think he did, but he might have. I mean, there's debate out there about it. And then, of course, there's the Bearer of the Curse. There's your character from Dark Souls 2. Did they link the fire? Maybe. You know, again, I don't think they did, because if they did a really terrible job of portraying that fact with Dark Souls 2's ending, where you sit in a rock throne underground and there's no fire, and then the door closes, and it's just, oh, okay, I'll just leave you here later. So, you know, whatever. But we might have met these guys. We might already know 4 Lords of Cinder. We definitely know 2 Lords of Cinder, if that's what they are. So, is that what the Lords of Cinder are? I don't know. I'm kind of interested to find out what the deal is. That said, you know, those guys aren't taking point here. They're not the big deals of this game. Instead, we've got a new set of unknown lords who will abandon their thrones and give rise to the unkindled, nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be Cinder. And that's what you appear to be this time around. You're a new type of undead. You're what's called an unkindled. Ash. Ash from the first flame. You might not have even really been alive at one point. Like, you might be a totally different undead, because you don't die the same way you used to in the old Dark Souls games. In the old Dark Souls games, if you were human and you died, you lost your humanity and you hollowed pretty damn quick. Like, you were going hollow, you were a zomber, you were disgusting. In this one, you're not so much taking in humanity as you are taking in a part of the flame. You're seeking embers. These embers are shaped like humanity, so there's something going on with the Dark Soul as far as these embers, but you put an ember in yourself and you gain this awesome glow to your character where it's like you have an inner fire that's like leaking out of parts of your body, and you can tell. Like, it looks so cool. I love the visual effect on the ember. But when you're human in this form, like, you're totally human, whatever. When you're hollowed or undead, or at least unkindled, you're not rotting. You're not a zombie. You're still the human character that you spent your time creating in the character creator, which is different. It's quite different this time around. But you're kind of covered in ash. Like, you got ash all over your face and all over your body. If you take your gear off, you can see it. And, like, it's like you just crawled out of the fire, so you're covered in ash. That's a very interesting thing that they're doing with the undead this time around, because there do seem to be hollows. Like, there's insane fuckers who are all shriveled up and disgusting, and they're swinging at you and attacking anything that moves, and they don't seem to give a shit about each other, but they go straight after you, which of course is because they seek that flame that you're carrying. They seek the ember of your soul. They want your soul, because the soul is fire, and fire is the soul, or so it would seem. It's an interpretation. So that's a different thing they're doing with the undead this time around. And the Lords of Cinder that take points, they're not Gwyn, they're not the chosen undead, they're not any of the people you've ever heard of. They're new guys who emerged throughout history and linked the fire at some point or another on their own, or with help. It's not sure. It's not certain. We don't know anything about these guys early game. You see the intro cutscene. You learn that there's Aldrich, Saint of the Deep, who is this disgusting pile of goo. Whoa, man! I'm not looking forward to meeting this guy. Looks like he's pretty bad news. Then you've got Farron's Undead Legion, the Abyss Walkers. They look like straight out of Bloodborne. These guys look like they are some fucking badasses that can throw the fuck down. So I guess Farron himself linked the fire, but all his Abyss Watchers were there with him. Like, it sounds like they took it upon themselves to become crusaders against the Abyss, which as we know, rises every time the first flame starts to fade. So they're probably really, really cool. Then you have the reclusive lord of the profaned capital, whatever the hell that is, Yorm the Giant, who, this is your first look of a Dark Souls 2 influence that came straight into 3, because he's the caved-in faceless giant form, and it seems he was a king of some sort, so there was another nation of giants, perhaps. And he looks like he's just gonna fucking throw down. Like, holy shit. He's probably gonna be one hell of a challenge, and I love how cool the lords look. Like, that flame effect on him. The flame is inside of him and it's billowing out. Oh, it's so cool. And the details on these guys, they're really sparse. That's all you get at the beginning. Nobody talks about these dudes. They've each got like a place where you can read an description about them, but it's nothing more than you already knew. So who knows? Who knows? We'll find out in time, and I'm really excited to find out what's going on. So we don't know much about them, but we do know a few things. We know that Lothric, as it's called now, is Lordran. There is no two ways about it. The name changes because over time it changes hands, it changes kingdoms. It was Lordran, then it was Drangleic, then it was something else, then it was something else, then it was something else, and now it's Lothric. It's just Lordran. It is, and they don't dick around with it this time. There's no, oh, is it or isn't it? And then it's horrifyingly, painfully obvious later that it is. Like, no, this time there's no pretense. They're like, hey, it's called Lothric, but guess what? It's Lordran. It just is. You know that because here is Firelink Shrine, the central hub of Dark Souls 1. Somebody fucking rebuilt it, and it's cool now. I love it. But you walk right into Firelink Shrine, and you're not even over the, oh my god, it's Firelink Shrine. You know, we're straight back in there. We're back to the beginning. You're not even over that, and you're like, who the fuck is that over there? Who is that? Well, that's right, the eyes do not deceive. That's Andre! Andre of Astora! The blacksmith from Dark Souls 1, he's back, what the fuck? His presence is very significant. It provides not only two immediate, solid connections to Lordran, Firelink Shrine, and Andre. When you walk up to him, you talk to him, hey, who are you? I'm Andre. Got it. Okay, it's you, 100%. But he's almost assuredly now confirmed to be the fallen son of Gwyn, Gwyn's firstborn, and that has a lot of implications if it's true, but I'll talk more about Andre later. I will talk more about Andre later. You also meet the new Firekeeper, who, this time, she's very, very similar to women from the Souls series in the past. She's very similar to the doll from Bloodborne. She's very similar to the Emerald Herald from Dark Souls 2, and she's very, very similar to the Lady in Black from Demon's Souls. And she's much, much more similar to her because the Lady in Black had wax over her eyes. This woman is wearing some sort of abyssal crown that blinds her, so they both can't see. They're both just these beautiful women who provide cryptic messages. She, like the Emerald Herald, like the Lady in Black, like the doll, allows you to level up. You don't do it through the bonfire anymore, which I think adds an extra level of badassness to the Chosen Undead from Dark Souls 1, because he's the only motherfucker across 3 Dark Souls games and 2 unrelated titles that can just go to the fire and say, I'm going to use these souls to make myself stronger, and I'm just going to do it. Everyone else needs somebody to help them with that. He just does it. The Chosen Undead was awesome. But her dialogue's very, very similar. You know, the things she says to reach inside of her, to touch the darkness, you know. It's all very similar to the dialogue that was with the Lady in Black from Demon's Souls, you know. So you've got her, you got Firelink Shrine, you've got all these thrones where you need to apparently bring the Lords of Cinder back to. More likely you need to bring their souls back there, because you're not going to be able to bring them back alive, because this is Dark Souls. You're going to fight them, you're going to kill them, you're going to bring those souls back, and you're going to say sit in this goddamn chair whether you want to or not. So you're the Unkindled One. That's how they refer to you. You're one of the Unkindled, which was called by the ring of the bell, which rings when the fire fades. So the fire fades, the bells ring, the Lords of Cinder wake up, who for some reason are not in Firelink Shrine. I'm not sure why. It would seem that that's where they're supposed to stay, but there are so many Lords of Cinder throughout history that maybe, maybe they get removed. I don't know what the deal is. But you rise in the Cemetery of Ash, which apparently is where the true Unkindled all come from, is this Cemetery of Ash. So what's the deal there? Who are these people that are interred in the Cemetery of Ash? Or is the Cemetery of Ash just where a bunch of ash from the first flame was gathered, and those ashes clump together and form a being from the dregs of souls, the remnants of fire that are in them? That's also a possibility, which again could mean that your character never lived in the first place, but from the character creation, he probably did, and he was interred there for whatever reason. So you rise there, and the only way that you're going to get to start your journey, the only way that any Unkindled across time, because again we have the merging of time, gets to enter Lothric and attempt to reclaim the Lords of Cinder, is if they can pass their first test, which is to fight the Judex Gundyr, which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. And this is your first boss fight. What a badass, this guy. Oh man, I love fighting the Judex. He's a much more serious boss than the first boss in Dark Souls 1, the Asylum Demon, who was kind of a pushover. This guy seems like he would really give genuinely new players a horrifying tough time. He's really fast and really strong. I loved fighting him. Like, it was such a cool fight, and you got 3 Estus flasks this time around, so you don't get 5, and they're not as effective as they were in Dark Souls 1 at the beginning of the game, so you're a little limited on healing. Good fight. It's a great welcome, and it's thematically appropriate because the Unkindled, they rise, they walk around in the Cemetery of Ash, they find a weapon, they find a shield, they find whatever, or they just use what they were buried with, and then if they want to go on into Lothric, into Lordran, they must pass the test of the Judex, they must defeat the Judex, and if they're not strong enough, they don't go any further, they lose their purpose, they go hollow, and they become the dudes you find just wandering around the cemetery insane as fuck, and not caring about anything except going after you, because you're the only one with a remnant of a soul at this point. It's really cool. It's really cool. And when you defeat the Judex, who, by the way, appears to be corrupted by the Abyss, like, he has a second form, and I'm pretty sure that those are elements of Manus, the father of the Abyss, that he's using against you. So it seems like the Abyss has actually progressed so much that it has corrupted the Judex. That's probably bad, but it just meant that he was stronger, and he was a more worthy challenge for the Unkindled that needs to go out and do what they need to do. When you defeat him, it doesn't say boss defeated or you defeated or whatever it says in the past. It says heir of fire destroyed. So this Judex was an heir of the flame, like straight up. He's an agent of the first flame, and that's really, really cool. And of course, you get an ember when he dies, and then you get his souls, and you absorb his fire, and you become kindled. That's the first time you get kindled. So, like Demon Souls, when you would defeat a boss, you would regain your humanity. In Dark Souls, you would usually get a humanity, but you wouldn't just become human. That's not how it worked. But in this one, defeat the boss, you'll absorb his fire, and you're in effectively human form. You're kindled. And that's really cool, because that means that they are fighting with pieces of the first flame, and as you defeat them, you're claiming it for yourself. You're growing in your own power, the strength of your own soul, as you add more fire to it. That's a really interesting change, and a really cool dynamic. I think that's a great gameplay reward. That's fantastic. So then once you go through this, you learn what's going on, sort of. You can pass into the next area, which is this huge castle. It's all been destroyed and ruined. There are dragons just kind of all over the place. Most of them are dead, but you run into 2 that are alive. I think it might have been 2, maybe it was only 1. But some of the dragons are alive, most of the dragons are dead, and the Unkindled, the Hollowed, the Undead, they seem to be worshipping these dragons, and there's no indication as to why. It could be the obsession with fire because dragons breathe fire, but these aren't dragons from the first flame. They have no connection to the first flame. Dragons are not alive. Dragons are everlasting. They're stone. They're made of rock. They live forever. They don't actually live. They don't actually die. But they can cease to be. And some of these dragons are just laying on the ground. Maybe they're not even dead. Maybe they're just laying there. I don't know what the deal is with the dragons. It's so unclear in Dark Souls what the real deal with the dragons are. And these appear to be true everlasting dragons, not drakes, because they're quite made of stone. They look a lot like Sin, the slumbering dragon from Shulva, the DLC of Dark Souls 2. They look a lot like him. And not only do they look like Sin, but there are powerful NPCs wandering the first area. And you can't fly this outfit past me for a second because I wore it, I fully upgraded it, I loved it. Those are Dragonblood Knights. 100% no change to the uniform. The Dragonblood Knights from Dark Souls 2. They're Dragonblood Knights from Shulva that have persisted through the ages, and they still look like that. They're called something else now. Supposedly they're not Dragonblood Knights, but they are. Or at least at one point they were. And I'm very interested to find out what these Dragonblood Knights are. And why it's the Dragonblood Knights that have persisted through the ages. Why not the Silver Knights? Why not the Black Knights? The people that directly served Lord Gwyn. Why did their order die out while the Dragonblood Knights have somehow persisted through the ages? Or is it that this place was just built on the ruins of Shulva and they liked the design? Is it actually that simple? I doubt it. But I don't have any of their gear, so I don't have any of the lore on them yet, and no one's talking to me. So that's not an answer I'm going to get easily. And that's really where I'm at with the first area. I have challenged the second boss. I did not win. He is a worthy foe. And there's new status effects. I don't know what Frostbite does. I just know he does it to me. I don't know what it's doing. And I know that I died. And I know that I cannot wait to get back in there and do some more Dark Souls 3. It has begun, and I am so in. Well, guys, this has been Jay Griff, and thanks for listening.